welcome back to another episode of Nat Joe's Caffeinated Library. We're back for the final of our little series, I guess, of the Bone Witch discussion. So we're not gonna lie, we read the last bit of that book a while ago.
I'm gonna say a month ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a month. And then life happened. And so now here we are finally. But so we did finish Bone Witch. It was very good in my opinion. So we are going to do a little kind of wrap up vaguely about how the end happens. Major spoilers, because that was the fun part and what we can remember. So spoilers are ahead. And then we're just going to do like a little book wrap up, final thoughts thing. So that's what it is. Oh yeah. And then for those who did not watch the other episodes, this is my friend Erin. She's a librarian.
My name is Erin. I'm the Teen Services Librarian for the Worcester Public Library in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I basically serve ages 12 through 17. It's a fun job. I like it.
Yep. So, Bone Witch. I don't even know what to talk about. Should we talk about the big spoiler of who her lover is?
Yeah, because we spent so long like speculating on that the last time we talked. I was like, we might as well just go straight to it. We were so wrong. We were so wrong. I really thought it was going to be your brother. I really did.
I really thought it was going to be the brother too. The grave that she was crying over. And then even then for the two men that I fell in love with or whatever that she talks about. We had the one pegged for the prince boy person, but we did not see the love interest of, what was his name? I don't even remember. The guard, the prince's guard. Yeah, Kaylin, her frenemy for the most of the book. She trained with him, didn't like him. He could not stand her. And clearly they fall in love here at some point. So
at some point, but it's just I don't know. I like that we know that it kind of is, but also at the same time, I'm also just okay, well, now I'm going to be sitting here just being so when does it happen? Because
I know, because I'm all here for frenemies to lovers. I am here for that shit. So, so that was a very exciting spoiler twist at the end that I don't think any of us saw coming. And then it ends with her vanquishing the dragon Deva. Well, she puts it to sleep and hides it. She doesn't actually
she basically
kill it, right?
hit it. Yeah, no, she just kind of hit it basically.
Yeah, it ends with baby T basically realizing that shit's suspicious fuck. And she's like, I'm not gonna kill it.
Nope.
Yeah, so she ends up she has Fox as her familiar, and then the Dragon Deva she ends up taking as another familiar. And then the bad guy who was controlling the Dragon Deva, she ends up taking that person as a familiar too, right? That was the other person.
Yes.
The cleaner girl in the tea house or whatever it's called. Yeah, so she takes those three familiars, and it had to do with some prophecy that the prophecy witch lady had said. I don't remember if we got any resolution with that though.
I don't think we did.
I think that was one of the last cliffhangers it left us with. And then the last flash forward episode ends with her resurrecting Kaylin from the dead and marching off to war, basically, with the Deva, right?
And finding out that she's basically going to be fighting her brother at some point because her brother sided with the other people, basically.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Fox is no longer friendly familiar. Yeah, forgot about that. And the little reporter guy is on her side now after getting kind of pissed off because she tricked him into coming. So that's the really vague shortwave how it ends with T marching to war, and we really still don't know what it is that she did that got herself exiled, do we?
No, and I was really hoping we'd find out at the end of this book, but I get the feeling it's going to be a big thing start of the second. Because I get the feeling all of second is going to be learning what leads up to her kind of bamfing out. And then the third is going to be where the flash forwards and the flashbacks catch up together, I think is kind of where it's going to sit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. And it's interesting because the second book's called The Heart Forger. And he was a very minimalistic character in this book. So he's going
to make some impact in the next one.
Can he make heartstones for the dead?
Yeah, didn't he? Or he made a fake one though, didn't he, for Fox? So Fox wouldn't look so weird wandering around.
Oh yeah, with the bloodletting or whatever. I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is going to have something to do with
Kaylin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder if it takes it to like the next level or something.
Yeah.
No. I want to know how Kaylin dies though, because he's like one of my faves.
I want to know how Kaylin dies, and I want to know how the prince is going to react to seeing him like up and moving again.
Yeah, and I also want to know, because like the book ends with little T and the prince basically being like that with each other, right? Like they're like low key dating.
Yeah, they're just like dating on the side, basically.
Yeah, she doesn't even have like a second glance for Kaylin, so that's
so something big happens in the second that's going to be like have to be a huge change to make her switch over from Cans to Kaylin.
Kaylin's a better choice, though. I'm here for it.
Honestly, yeah. Like I like the prince, and like usually I'm like here for like the sweet like underdoggy kind of character.
No, I'm here for Kaylin all the way. Yep.
Nah, I'm here for Kaylin at this point. I'm just like, the prince is a little too like white bread for me. We're just like, you're fine.
Yeah, well,
like you're fine.
That's why I love the enemies to lovers trope, but I like it when it goes enemies to frenemies to lovers, because I feel like you get such a better character arc and like relationship arc development. So I'm here for that trope all day long.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So final thoughts on the book. What do you think?
I really enjoyed it. I'd run into Rin Chupeco a couple of times, like when I was doing Reader's Advisory, but that was mostly with the Girl in the Well, like the horror series. Here for like the stuff that she puts out because I like her style.
I mean, I love the style of her writing. I'm in a couple groups on Facebook for young adult reads, and a lot of people don't seem to like it. They think it's too slow. They don't like the plot pacing. A lot of people had an issue with like the lyrical writing, but those are what I freaking loved about it.
I think that's like what's really like keeping me involved with this. I think it's interesting because it is different than a lot of YA. Like that is the main thing, is that it's written at a slightly higher level than most YA is written. And like as a person who loves YA, I love how YA is written. But this is written at like a new adult. Yeah, it's way more than new adult genre. Because it does kind of revolve. It does like fit the requirement of YA, where it revolves around someone who is a teenager, with a teenager interacting with teenagers, and main social stuff happens with teenagers. But
it has a lot of adult themes.
And it's just written at a slightly different style and level than a regular teen novel. And I think that's probably where people get upset, because they go in expecting a teen novel, and it's like, oh wait, no, this is probably not. This is a lot older. Yeah.
And maybe that's why people don't seem to like it as much, it's funny because if you think about it, plot wise, we learned nothing. Like this
was atmospheric. This was more atmospheric and world building than it was plot building. Right. And I can see how people get annoyed with that, because also YA is designed to be fast paced, quick pace, move, give you plot, give you plot.
And like closed circuit, like you get the ending at the end kind of thing. But yeah, this was very much, it's told from the beginning and the end of the third almost, and like you're still waiting for those plots to catch up at the end of the first book.
Well, it reminds me, so one of my favorite books is Cloud Atlas, which is an adult novel, but it's written in that same kind of let's experiment with how to tell a story to see if we can tell it better kind of way. And that's kind of what it was giving me, was like kind of Cloud Atlas-y vibes. So that was one of the things that probably why I liked it so much, is that it messes with storytelling in a very different way. Because like I said, I've been reading like a lot of like queer YA, which is very, very linear. It goes straight through, start, finish, you're done. This one doesn't, has a more cyclical feel to it, and I feel like that does add a different level of complexity.
No, I totally agree. I don't know, I loved it. I thought it was such a different way to tell a story, and it worked so well for me, because it felt like you were also kind of reading like a mystery book, because you saw how it ends, but you don't know how it gets to that end point. And so you're trying to read and put together the gaps of how it gets to where the end points are,
So Big Little Lies is kind of told in that same kind of fashion, where someone's dead, a thing has happened, all the stuff has happened, but the rest of the story is told in the outside perspective of it. So like with Big Little Lies, you have the person's dead, and the reason you find out like what's happening is by going into their flash forwards, where you have like the people who are commenting or making their comments stuff. Also, this is me giving a shout out that people should read Big Little Lies. But it's in that same format, but that's also still an adult format for the most part. And I think that's probably where a lot of the problem comes from, is that all the books that I'm naming that this is reminding me of is a style that is written for adults rather than for teenagers. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's the disconnect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it is like, if you're not expecting it, it is like, if you're not prepared for it, the plot is extremely, like, just the time telling of the plot is very different. And if you're not prepared for that, I could understand where people would get confused.
I can also see people getting confused with how, like, Rinch Pecco has put in a lot of, like, very, very, like, culturally heavy storytelling and narrative. Mm-hmm. Like, remember how I was struggling? I'm like, I wish there was a glossary, before I realized I was an idiot and that there is a glossary.
Yes. It's that, though. It's such, because I'm reading Master of Jin right now, which mm-hmm. is so cool. So excited. But Master of Jin has I'm having the same problems, where, because it's based in 1920s Cairo, Egypt, but with an alternate history where somebody unlocked the something, and now there's like jinn and magic flowing around. So it's an alternate history, but it's in 1920s Cairo, Egypt. And so there's a lot of just very specific vocabulary that I'm having a hard time grasping and just remembering. And it's, until I get used to those words, it's kind of pulling me out of the story, because I'm having to like Google what these words mean, because it's not as intuitive to me as it would be someone who's reading it, who's familiar with the Egyptian culture.
Yeah, so, two that are coming to mind for me for that are The Song of Wraith and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown, which is the book that I've been recommending constantly, that is very heavy in West African lore. Mm-hmm. And it's an amazing book. Mm-hmm. Like, it is so good, but it does kind of have like that problem where it's like, oh, we're learning a ton about like a lot of like West African like lore and pantheology and like mythology and all this stuff. But at the same time, it's also like, this has not been written very often.
Right.
And I'm going to go back to my rant about like, and I'm going to go back to my rant about like how amazing We Need Diverse Books is, because we as a collective like readership are very used to white, like Eurocentric literature.
Yeah.
And so we're getting used to like non-white, non-Eurocentric literature, which is what we need, honestly.
Oh yeah.
But we're not used to it as a readership. And I feel like that's like a thing that people are coming up against, is like, well, I'm not used to this, I'm not going to read it. It's like, no. This is why you should read it, because this is the only way that you're actually going to like get good literature made and get more literature like this made. Right.
It's like all the people that are who aren't reading it because it's confusing, because they don't understand the colloquialism and just the vocabulary. But like, no, like, we didn't understand medieval literature when Tolkien came out, but now look at us now. Like, you just need to give it a minute, get your frame of reference and stick it through, because that's how we get amazing, like, minority, different culture authors published. And that's how we get it back into mainstream, you know?
Yeah, like that's how, like, because right now, like, my big push when I'm at the library is really pushing diverse literature. Like, I am really trying to get my teens to read things that are like by non-white authors. I'm trying to get them to read things that don't focus on like white narratives.
Characters.
Yeah. And it's really refreshing, because like I can tell you 3 or 4 years ago when I was first starting out as a librarian, I had to fight to find things that fit that. And now that we've had the We Need Diverse Books push, and now that we've had like a lot of like publishers who are sitting here being like, hey,
we need this.
It's been really great, but the problem is getting the readers to actually accept reading it.
Yeah.
Like, well, give it a chance. Like, we need to get used to reading these kinds of narratives, because like they're being published and they should be published and we should be reading them.
I think the takeaway for people who are trying to read it and can't get into it is give it a couple chapters, because it does take a minute to start piecing things together.
And don't expect a lot of plot.
Yeah, don't expect a lot of like
heavy plot.
Don't a lot of heavy plot, and don't expect a lot of like plot resolution. So I think people are going into this and they're expecting the book to end with like everything wrapped up, but really it ends with you going, what the hell just happened? And so that's just an expectation you need to shift from.
I think that Rinch Pecco did a big brain move on this, and she planned out all 3 books at the exact same time. Her. And that's also, I think, why I like it so much, is that I'm like, oh, I know that if I basically wanted to binge this book series and go 1, 2, 3 straight through, it would be like reading one very long book, because the book is very, very like hefty, but like it would feel like reading one very long book, because
everything connects to everything else.
She planned it. Like, you can tell she planned it. So it's not like book 1 is done, book 2 is done, book 3 is done. It's like, here's part 1, here's part 2, here's part 3, and I like that style.
Yeah, when I bought the other 2 and I looked and I saw that it still does the flashbacks
and flash forward
stuff,
thing. Yeah.
I was like, this woman's a genius, and this was so hard, and props to her. That's the only thing. Like, as an author who writes and plots her own books, my only thought was, good for her, because freaking that's hard.
Well, I can remember you like saying at the beginning, like, I don't know how she's going to be able to maintain. You have boba. How dare you? I really want boba right now. Sorry. I was just like, oh my God, that sounds so good.
I love boba.
I can even remember you telling me at the beginning when we were first starting, you're like, I don't know how she's going to be able to maintain keeping this style up, because this is a heavy style to like do, because you have to plot so much to actually do it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to plot so much because you have to know what's going to happen at the end.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Because you are already writing the end. So you can't like work your way up to it. You have to have it already there. So, and
you can't have you can't have plot holes, because you can't go back and fix them later on because, oh, oops, I already got this going. I can't have any plot holes.
Right. No hanging the lampshade on that plot hole. You have to just fix it when you write it.
Yeah. It's like, that's to me, like, that is a sign of a very, very good storyteller. And I think that's probably why she may not be getting as much love in like the YA circles, just because she's writing at a slightly more adult level. But you also have like people who are readers like me. When I was 16, I would have killed for a book like this because it would have challenged me.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would have loved it, because like sometimes I felt like I was being talked down to by YA.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I remember,
they didn't like respect me.
Yeah, because I remember when I was reading, when I was the hardcore reader in like high school, like late junior high school, I was drifting into adult books because the young adult books, the language was too simpler, but I wanted those stories. So I went to the adult books because it had more mature writing, but some of the topics were too mature for me. So I didn't truly understand and like appreciate them. Like, I needed a middle. I needed somewhere that wrote maturely, that had the younger themes, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like new adult is becoming more popular.
It's becoming more like the age for like people who read, who are like 15, 16, 17, who read at the 18 to 25 range. Right. Because there is a fairly big, like, I'm going to say 18 to like 22, 23 range, because that is a pretty, like, that's a pretty big gap. That's your college years.
Yeah. And it's great because it's for the kids, the older teens who read more maturely, but it's also for like the college age kids who just want a simple plot. Yeah, something fun and simple plot that isn't reading like grade school books in like their terms of comprehension skills, you know? Anyway, so thanks for joining us on this extremely long 3-parter of the Bone Witch.
We did it.
Sorry for that month-and-a-half-ish long gap between part 2 and part 3. So thanks for joining us. And if you guys like this format and you want us to do it again, I'll bug Erin to buddy read another book and we'll do it again. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you on the next one.
Bye.